I'm Eleanor, 67 and recently widowed in Connecticut. Nathan, my only son, was my world until Madison came along. Just yesterday, while wrapping homemade cookies for them, my phone buzzed. The message stunned me. "You weren't invited to dinner, my wife doesn't want you there." My hands trembled. This was after I'd sold my home to pay for their house. Staring at those cruel words, memories of 30 years of sacrifice flashed before me. Something inside me finally broke. Before I tell you what happened next, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and subscribe to hear how I handled this heartbreaking rejection that no mother should ever experience. Life hasn't always been easy for me. When my husband Richard died unexpectedly from a heart attack, Nathan was only 10 years old. The loss devastated us both, but as a mother, I had no choice but to push through my grief. Our modest insurance policy covered the funeral expenses with little left over. Suddenly, I was thrust into the role of both mother and provider with a mortgage to pay and a young boy to raise. I took on multiple jobs to keep us afloat. During the day, I worked as an administrative assistant at a local real estate office. Evenings and weekends found me waiting tables at Angelo's Italian restaurant down the street. During the Christmas season, I added retail shifts at the mall. Sleep became a luxury I rarely enjoyed, but seeing Nathan with food on the table and clothes that fit made every exhausted moment worthwhile. Despite my busy schedule, I never missed Nathan's baseball games or school events. I'd rush from work, sometimes still in my waitress uniform, just to see him pitch an inning or receive an award. Those moments were precious and I refused to sacrifice them, even when it meant functioning on just 4 hours of sleep. Nathan and I developed a special bond through those difficult years. Every Sunday became our sacred day together. We'd make pancakes in funny shapes, visit the local park regardless of weather, and talk about everything from school troubles to his dreams for the future. He'd help me clip coupons afterward, understanding even at a young age that every penny counted in our household. "Mom, when I grow up, I'm going to build you a mansion," he'd tell me with childish conviction, carefully drawing elaborate house plans on recycled printer paper. I'd smile and say, "As long as we're together, any house is a mansion." Nathan excelled academically despite our challenges. When college acceptance letters arrived, I felt both incredible pride and terrible anxiety. How would I afford tuition? For years, I'd been putting small amounts into a college fund, but it wasn't nearly enough for the prestigious architecture program that had accepted him. "Maybe I should work for a couple of years first," Nathan suggested, seeing the worry on my face. "Absolutely not," I insisted. "Your education comes first." I remortgaged our modest home, picked up additional shifts, and lived on the barest essentials for 4 years. Every penny went toward Nathan's education. When he graduated with honors, the pride I felt watching him walk across that stage made every sacrifice worthwhile. He had done it. We had done it. After establishing himself at a respected architectural firm in Hartford, Nathan seemed settled and happy. At 32, he had a promising career, good friends, and occasionally dated, though nothing serious developed. That changed when he met Madison at a charity fundraiser where his firm had donated design services. Madison was striking with her sleek blonde hair and confident demeanor. A marketing executive for a luxury real estate company, she was articulate, ambitious, and clearly interested in my son. When Nathan first brought her to Sunday dinner, I was genuinely happy for him. She complimented my cooking, asked thoughtful questions about my life, and seemed to appreciate Nathan's close relationship with me. "Your son is amazing, Eleanor," Madison said. "You did an incredible job raising him." Looking back, I should have noticed the subtle warning signs. How Madison would interrupt Nathan when he was telling stories about our past, the way her smile tightened when he mentioned our Sunday traditions, how she'd gently redirect conversations away from his childhood. But I was so eager for Nathan to find happiness that I overlooked these moments, dismissing them as insignificant adjustment periods in their relationship. Over the next year, I watched my confident, outspoken son gradually change. He began checking his phone when Madison texted, sometimes abruptly leaving our visits when she wanted him home. Our weekly Sunday brunches became monthly, then occasional. When I mentioned this change, Nathan always had reasonable excuses. Work deadlines, social obligations with Madison's colleagues, house hunting priorities. The house hunting caught me by surprise. They'd been dating just under 2 years when Nathan announced they'd found their dream home in an upscale neighborhood. The price tag was substantial, especially for a young couple just starting out. "It's a bit of a stretch financially," Nathan admitted during a rare visit alone. "But Madison says it's important to get into the right neighborhood now, for networking and future children." I nodded supportively, though something about the pressure in his voice concerned me. 2 weeks later, I made a decision that would change everything. I offered to sell my home of 40 years to help them with the down payment and initial mortgage payments. The relief and gratitude on Nathan's face convinced me it was the right choice, despite the knot forming in my stomach. Nathan proposed to Madison 6 months after they moved into their new home. He called me immediately after she said yes, his voice brimming with excitement. I could hear Madison's laughter in the background as they shared their happiness with me over speakerphone. Despite my private reservations about their relationship dynamics, I pushed aside my concerns. My son was happy, and that was what mattered most. "I'm thrilled for you both," I said sincerely. "Have you thought about when you'd like to have the wedding?" Madison took over the call then. "We're thinking spring, Eleanor. Something elegant but not too fussy. My parents can't be too involved since they live in Singapore, so any help you can offer would be wonderful." I was touched to be included and eagerly offered my assistance. "Whatever you need, I'm here to help. This is such a special time." Madison's parents were wealthy executives who traveled extensively. From what Nathan had shared, they maintained a somewhat distant relationship with their daughter, prioritizing careers over family time. I felt sympathy for Madison, thinking perhaps this explained her occasional possessiveness with Nathan. Having missed parental closeness herself, she might naturally cling to the family connection she now had. With her parents sending their regrets along with a generous check, I became the default wedding planner alongside Madison. Initially, we spent enjoyable afternoons visiting venues and discussing details. I treasured these moments, believing we were building a meaningful mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship. The first significant shift came when I suggested using the florist who had done my sister Janet's daughter's wedding. The arrangements had been beautiful and reasonably priced. "That's thoughtful, Eleanor," Madison said with a tight smile. "But I've already contacted Bluebell Designs. They're exclusive and typically work with celebrities, but they've agreed to fit us in." When I saw their quote later, I nearly gasped. The flower budget alone was more than I had spent on my entire wedding. When I gently suggested alternatives, Madison's response was polite but firm. "This is our one special day, Eleanor. We don't want to compromise on the details." Over the following weeks, a pattern emerged. Madison would ask for my opinion, then override it with something more extravagant. The guest list expanded from 75 to 200, many being Madison's business contacts. The venue changed from a charming local garden to an exclusive country club. The budget ballooned accordingly. Nathan seemed uncomfortable with the escalating costs but rarely contradicted Madison's wishes. During a rare moment alone, I found him looking stressed while reviewing their wedding spreadsheet. "Everything okay, sweetie?" I asked. "Just trying to figure out how to make the numbers work," he admitted. "Madison has very specific ideas about the wedding." I hesitated before offering. "I've been saving for your wedding since you were little. It's not a fortune, but I'd like to help." Relief washed over his face. "Mom, that would be amazing. Are you sure?" I assured him I was certain, though I hadn't anticipated funding the lavish event Madison was orchestrating. My modest savings were quickly absorbed into the growing wedding expenses. As the wedding approached, I found myself increasingly sidelined. Madison created a separate planning chat with her bridesmaids, excluding me from many decisions. When I arrived for cake tastings or menu selections, I often discovered major decisions had already been made. The final blow came during the rehearsal dinner. As mother of the groom, I had prepared a short, heartfelt toast. However, when the moment came, the wedding planner Madison had hired informed me that the schedule had been adjusted, and there wasn't time for additional speeches beyond the best man and maid of honor. "Madison wants to keep things moving," she explained apologetically. I watched from table 7 as strangers and casual acquaintances celebrated my son's special day. The mother-son dance I had looked forward to was replaced by a choreographed routine Nathan and Madison performed to entertain their guests. After the wedding, the distance between us grew even more pronounced. My calls went unanswered for days. Invitations to dinner were met with vague responses about checking their schedule, followed by cancellations. When we did connect, Nathan seemed guarded, checking his watch frequently. The Christmas after their wedding, I knitted Madison a beautiful cashmere scarf in her favorite shade of blue. When she opened it, her thank you seemed perfunctory. Later, I never saw her wear it. Instead, I noticed similar designer scarves around her neck during winter gatherings. Your mother means well, I overheard Madison telling Nathan at their housewarming party. But her taste is just so dated. And she keeps trying to mother you. Don't you find it suffocating sometimes? I pretended not to hear, busying myself with arranging appetizers on the counter. Nathan's response was too quiet to catch, but the lack of defense spoke volumes. Despite these hurts, I continued making regular payments toward their mortgage as promised. Each month, I transferred money from my modest savings, now dwindling as I adjusted to life in my small apartment. The walls sometimes felt like they were closing in, especially during the lonely nights when I missed the home where Nathan had grown up, where every corner held a memory. But I reminded myself that family required sacrifice, and I was helping secure my son's future. I just wished that future seemed to include me. The decision to help Nathan and Madison purchase their dream home wasn't made lightly. It began during a rare lunch with just Nathan, when he mentioned they'd found the perfect place, but were struggling to qualify for the full mortgage amount. It's in Brookfield Estates, he explained, naming one of the most prestigious neighborhoods in the area. 4 bedrooms, a dedicated office space, and a backyard perfect for when we start a family. His eyes lit up in a way I hadn't seen recently, reminding me of the little boy who used to draw elaborate house plans. When he mentioned the price, however, I nearly choked on my salad. It was easily 3 times what my modest home was worth. That's substantial, I managed to say. I know, Nathan sighed. Madison says we need to think of it as an investment. The right address opens doors, especially in her industry. I could see the conflict in his expression. My practical, sensible son had always been careful with money, a value I'd instilled through our years of careful budgeting. Yet he clearly wanted this house and perhaps more accurately wanted to make Madison happy. That evening, alone in the home where I'd raised Nathan, I walked through rooms filled with 30 years of memories. The kitchen where I'd taught him to make pancakes. The living room where we built blanket forts during thunderstorms. The backyard where he'd practiced pitching for hours. I thought about my retirement savings, modest but carefully built over decades of frugal living. 2 days later, I invited Nathan over and shared my decision. I want to help you buy the house, I said simply. I'm going to sell this place and move somewhere smaller. The equity will help with your down payment, and I can contribute to your monthly payments until you're more established. Nathan's eyes widened. Mom, no. That's too much. This is your home. It's just a house, I said, though we both knew that wasn't entirely true. Family is what matters. I want you and Madison to have the fresh start you deserve. The process moved quickly after that. My real estate agent found a buyer within 2 weeks, someone who wanted to renovate the older home completely. I tried not to think about my carefully tended garden being bulldozed, or the height markers on the kitchen doorframe being painted over. I found a 1-bedroom apartment in a modest complex across town. At 800 square feet, it was less than a third the size of my previous home. Downsizing was painful. Each item I donated or sold felt like surrendering a piece of our family history. Nathan helped with the moving logistics, but was often called away by Madison's texts or calls. The financial arrangement was straightforward but substantial. I provided $60,000 for their down payment from my home sale. Additionally, I committed to paying $2,000 monthly toward their mortgage for 3 years, nearly draining my savings but ensuring they could afford their dream home. When they closed on the house, I attended the signing, feeling a mixture of pride and melancholy. Madison was effusive with her gratitude, hugging me tightly. Eleanor, we couldn't have done this without you, she gushed as photographers from her real estate company captured the moment. You're making our dreams come true. The photos later appeared on her company's social media, captioned, helping another family find their forever home. #BlessedRealtor, #DreamHome. No mention of my contribution. I told myself it didn't matter. The housewarming party should have been a proud moment. I brought a handmade quilt as a gift, each square representing a significant moment in Nathan's life. Madison thanked me but quickly placed it in a bedroom closet, out of sight. Throughout the evening, I noticed how Madison introduced me to her colleagues and friends. "This is Nathan's mother," she would say simply, without using my name or acknowledging our relationship. When one guest asked about the house purchase, Madison launched into a story about her clever negotiation tactics and Nathan's architectural expertise. My financial contribution went unmentioned. Later that evening, I overheard a conversation between Madison and her friend in the kitchen. "The place is gorgeous," her friend gushed. "How did you manage the down payment so soon after the wedding?" Madison lowered her voice, but not enough. "Nathan's mom sold her place. She's helping with the payments too. Between us, it's a bit awkward having her so involved financially, but we'll be able to refinance in a few years and get out from under that obligation." The casual dismissal of my sacrifice stung deeply. I slipped away to the bathroom, needing a moment alone. Looking in the mirror, I saw a woman who had given everything for her son, now made to feel like an uncomfortable obligation. Despite this revelation, I continued making the monthly payments as promised. Each transfer represented hours of overtime from my working years, careful saving, and delayed gratification. I told myself I was investing in Nathan's happiness and future grandchildren, even as I began to recognize that Madison viewed my financial support as temporary assistance, rather than the profound sacrifice it truly was. The bills continued to arrive at my apartment. Property taxes, insurance adjustments, maintenance expenses. I paid them all without complaint, sometimes sacrificing my own needs. When my refrigerator broke, I used a cooler with ice for 2 weeks until I could afford a second-hand replacement, unwilling to divert money from their mortgage payment. The irony wasn't lost on me. I now lived in a space smaller than their master bedroom suite, eating at a fold-down table, while helping fund their gourmet kitchen with marble countertops that Madison showcased on her Instagram account. Still, when I received the text message about the dinner party, I was unprepared for how deeply it would wound me. Not because I expected constant gratitude, but because I had believed, despite everything, that I still mattered to my son. I first heard about the dinner party from Barbara, a mutual friend who assumed I'd be attending. We bumped into each other at the local farmer's market on a crisp Saturday morning in October. "Eleanor, how are you?" Barbara called, waving from the apple stand. After exchanging pleasantries, she mentioned, "Looking forward to seeing you at Nathan and Madison's next weekend. It's been ages since we've had a proper chat." I nodded vaguely, hiding my confusion. This was the first I'd heard about any dinner party. "Yes, should be lovely," I managed, changing the subject while my mind raced. Later that afternoon, I decided to bake my special apple crumble, using the fresh fruit I'd purchased. Nathan had always loved this dessert, and it seemed like the perfect contribution to a family gathering. While the kitchen filled with cinnamon-scented warmth, I composed a casual text to Nathan. "Hi, sweetie. Ran into Barbara today. What time should I arrive for dinner next Saturday? Can I bring my apple crumble? Love you." I set my phone down and continued baking, humming softly to myself. The apartment might be small, but moments like these, creating something with love for my family, made it feel like home. When my phone buzzed with Nathan's reply, I wiped my hands on a kitchen towel and reached for it, expecting a simple time confirmation. Instead, the words on the screen stopped me cold. "You weren't invited to dinner. My wife doesn't want you there." I stared at the message, certain I'd misunderstood. My hands began to shake so badly I had to set the phone down on the counter. Taking a deep breath, I picked it up again and reread the message. The words remained unchanged, stark and brutal in their simplicity. My first coherent thought was that Nathan's phone must have been stolen. Or perhaps Madison had sent this without his knowledge. My son would never speak to me this way. But the message had come from his number, and the formal "my wife" phrase matched his recent way of speaking. I sank onto a kitchen chair, suddenly aware of a physical pain spreading through my chest. 37 years of motherhood, thousands of meals cooked, endless loads of laundry, years of working multiple jobs, the sale of my beloved home. all reduced to this dismissive text message. The timer for the apple crumble dinged, startling me from my shocked trance. Mechanically, I removed it from the oven and set it on the cooling rack. The sweet, familiar scent now seemed to mock me. Who would eat this now? Who was I baking for? I found myself walking through my small apartment, touching photographs of Nathan through the years. His first baseball game, high school graduation, college acceptance. Each milestone we had celebrated together. Each achievement I had sacrificed to make possible. A memory surfaced. Nathan at 11, promising to always take care of me when he grew up. "We're a team, Mom," he had said with childish solemnity. "It's you and me against the world." Tears finally came, hot and relentless. I cried for the little boy who had loved me unconditionally. I cried for the mother who had given everything without hesitation. Mostly, I cried for the woman I had become. Someone whose worth could be dismissed in a single text message. When the tears finally subsided, I looked at my phone again. The message remained, demanding a response. What does one say to such cruelty? What response could possibly convey the depth of heartbreak I was experiencing? After several minutes of consideration, I typed the only word I could manage. Okay. That single word contained multitudes. Okay, I accept that you've chosen your wife over your mother. Okay, I understand that my sacrifices mean nothing. Okay, I recognize that I've become inconvenient. Okay, I hear that I am unwanted. I sent the message, then silenced my phone and placed it in a drawer. Whatever response might come, I couldn't bear to see it now. The apartment felt suddenly suffocating. The walls closing in like a physical manifestation of my shrinking place in Nathan's life. That night was one of the longest of my life, rivaling even the night after Richard's death. I sat in darkness surrounded by photographs and memories, wondering how we had arrived at this point. Had I been too giving? Too involved? Not involved enough? The questions circled endlessly, offering no answers or comfort. By morning, a strange calm had settled over me. The devastation remained, but alongside it grew something unexpected. Clarity. For years, I had accepted increasingly disrespectful treatment, believing that unconditional love meant unconditional tolerance. I had allowed my own boundaries to be trampled in the name of motherly sacrifice. As the first rays of sunlight filtered through my curtains, I made a decision that would change everything. My love for Nathan remained absolute, but my willingness to be mistreated had reached its limit. It was time to demonstrate that while a mother's love might be unconditional, her financial support certainly was not. The morning after receiving Nathan's text, I moved with purpose I hadn't felt in months. First, I called in sick to my part-time job at the library, something I rarely did. This situation required my full attention. Then I sat at my small dining table with my laptop, financial documents spread around me like a paper fortress. I began methodically reviewing every financial connection between myself and Nathan's household. The mortgage payments, the property tax contributions, the homeowner's insurance I partially funded, the utilities I occasionally covered when they had tight months. Each represented a significant portion of my limited retirement funds. Next, I called Susan, my attorney friend who had helped with my husband's estate years earlier. I explained the situation as factually as possible, my voice steadier than I expected. I need to understand my options regarding the financial support I've been providing for my son's home, I concluded. Susan's response was immediate and reassuring. Eleanor, I'm so sorry this is happening. Legally, you're on solid ground. Your arrangement was informal, with no binding contract. You're well within your rights to stop payments immediately. She recommended documenting everything before making changes, advice I took to heart. For the next 3 hours, I meticulously gathered evidence of my contributions. Bank statements showing transfers, emails discussing payment arrangements, even text messages where Nathan or Madison acknowledged receiving funds. By mid-afternoon, I had compiled a comprehensive record of my financial support. 174 separate transactions over 21 months, totaling nearly $92,000. The number was staggering even to me. Seeing it quantified so precisely brought a new wave of hurt, but also strengthened my resolve. With Susan's guidance, I drafted a brief, factual letter stating, that I would no longer be providing financial assistance effective immediately. No accusations, no emotional language, just a clear statement of my decision. Susan reviewed it, made minor adjustments, then advised me to send it by certified mail to create an official record. What about the digital records? I asked, looking at my email folder labeled house payments. You can delete them if you wish, Susan said. You have the paper documentation now. Sometimes a clean break helps emotionally. That evening, I logged into my online banking portal and canceled all automatic payments to accounts associated with Nathan and Madison's house. Each cancellation required confirmation, my finger hovering momentarily over the mouse before clicking. Yes, I'm sure. With each click, I felt a curious mixture of grief and liberation. Then came the email purge. One by one, I deleted 174 payment receipts, confirmation messages, and thank you notes. These became increasingly rare as time went on. The folder that had once been evidence of my sacrifice was now empty, a digital representation of my new boundaries. For 3 days, nothing happened. I went to work, spoke with friends, even started researching a community college art class I'd always been interested in but never had time for. The silence from Nathan was both painful and peaceful. I missed my son terribly but welcomed the respite from feeling like an afterthought in his life. On the 4th day, my phone erupted with notifications. 3 missed calls from Nathan, 2 from Madison, multiple text messages with increasing urgency. Mom, call me back, important. There's an issue with the mortgage payment. Mom, this is serious. Please call ASAP. Madison's lone text was surprisingly polite. Eleanor, we need to speak with you about an important financial matter. Please call when you can. I read each message calmly, then placed my phone back on the counter without responding. That evening my landline rang, a number I rarely gave out but that Nathan had for emergencies. I let it go to voicemail. Nathan's voice sounded panicked. Mom, the mortgage payment was rejected. The bank says the transfer didn't go through. I tried calling your cell but couldn't reach you. Please call me back as soon as you get this. We're in trouble here. The following morning, Madison left a voicemail that almost made me pick up the phone. Her usual confidence was replaced by something that sounded genuinely humble. Eleanor, it's Madison. I think I understand what's happening. We need to talk. About everything. Please give us a chance to make things right. I was contemplating my response when a knock at my apartment door startled me. Through the peephole, I saw Nathan standing in the hallway, looking disheveled in a way I hadn't seen since his college exam periods. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door. Nathan stared at me, his expression a complex mixture of confusion, anger, and something else, shame? Mom, he began, then faltered. Can I come in? I stepped aside silently, allowing him into my small living space. He stood awkwardly in the center of the room, looking around as if seeing the apartment for the first time. Perhaps he was. In his previous brief visits, he had never seemed fully present. Your payments stopped, he finally said. The bank said all the automatic transfers were canceled. Yes, I replied simply. Why? His voice cracked slightly on the word. I met his gaze steadily. You weren't invited to dinner. Your wife doesn't want me there. The color drained from his face as his own words were reflected back to him. He sank onto my sofa, head in his hands. I didn't write that, he said finally. Madison took my phone. She saw your text and responded. But you let her, I said quietly. You've been letting her make decisions about our relationship for 2 years now. Nathan looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. It's complicated, Mom. Madison, she has strong opinions about family boundaries. Boundaries are important, I agreed. So are respect and gratitude. The dam broke then. Nathan began talking rapidly, revealing things I had suspected but never confirmed. Madison had been systematically limiting his contact with me, deleting messages, making him feel guilty for spending time with me. She'd told friends I was intrusive and manipulative. She'd even lied to Nathan, claiming I had made critical comments about her appearance and home management. She said you told her friend that she trapped me into marriage, Nathan said miserably. That you called her a gold digger. I would never say such things, I replied, shocked. Nathan, you know me better than that. I do know you, he admitted. Deep down I knew something wasn't right, but Madison is very convincing. She gets these ideas about people, and then everything fits her narrative. As Nathan continued talking, I began to understand the extent of Madison's manipulation. Her jealousy of our close relationship had driven her to systematic isolation tactics, using Nathan's desire for marital harmony to gradually sever our bond. When did you stop trusting your own judgment about me? I asked softly. When did her version of me become more real than the mother you've known all your life? Nathan had no answer, just tears and apologies that came 37 years too late, and yet somehow just in time. I've been a coward, he finally said. I've let Madison control everything because it was easier than standing up to her. I convinced myself it was normal, that all marriages require these kinds of compromises. Marriage requires compromise, I agreed, but not the sacrifice of your authentic self or your core relationships. Nathan took my hands in his, something he hadn't done in years. I'm so sorry, Mom, for everything. For taking your financial help while allowing you to be treated poorly. For not standing up for you. For that horrible text message. I felt tears gathering but held them back. I need more than apologies, Nathan. I need change. He nodded soberly. I know. It starts today. He pulled out his phone and dialed Madison's number, putting it on speaker. Nathan. Madison answered immediately. Did you find your mother? Is everything okay with the payments? I'm with her now, Nathan replied, his voice firmer than I'd heard in years. We need to talk, Madison. All three of us. About how things are going to be different moving forward. The silence on the other end stretched for several seconds before Madison responded, her voice small and uncertain. I understand. When? Tomorrow, Nathan said decisively. The Bluebird Cafe at noon. And Madison? Come prepared to listen. After ending the call, Nathan looked at me with a mixture of determination and uncertainty. Will you come tomorrow? Give us a chance to make this right. I considered his request carefully. I'll be there, I finally agreed. But Nathan, understand this clearly. I will not resume financial support without significant changes and clear boundaries. My love is unconditional. My money is not. He nodded, understanding the line I had finally drawn. As he left my apartment, he turned back briefly. I'm going to fix this, Mom. I promise. I watched him walk away, feeling cautiously hopeful yet protective of my newly reclaimed self-respect. Tomorrow would reveal whether my son truly understood the difference between saying sorry and being accountable. The Bluebird Cafe sat on a corner in downtown Hartford, its cheerful blue awnings a stark contrast to the gray October sky threatening rain. I arrived 15 minutes early, selecting a quiet booth in the back where we could speak privately. The familiar surroundings provided small comfort. Nathan and I had often enjoyed Sunday brunches here before Madison entered the picture. My hands trembled slightly as I arranged and rearranged the silverware, a nervous habit from my waitressing days. I'd slept poorly rehearsing what I would say, trying to find the balance between honesty and hostility. I wanted reconciliation, but not at the expense of my dignity. At precisely noon, the bell above the door chimed. Nathan entered first, scanning the cafe until he spotted me. Madison followed a step behind, her usual confident posture notably absent. Instead of her typical polished appearance, she wore minimal makeup and a simple sweater, her hair pulled back in a casual ponytail. She looked younger, more vulnerable. Mom! Nathan greeted me with a kiss on the cheek before sliding into the booth. Madison hesitated before taking the seat opposite me, her eyes downcast. An uncomfortable silence settled over our table until the waitress arrived to take our orders. I requested a simple tea, my appetite non-existent under the circumstances. Once she departed, Nathan cleared his throat. Thank you for coming, he began. This is important. We have a lot to discuss. Madison finally looked up, meeting my gaze directly. I was surprised to see her eyes were red-rimmed, evidence of recent tears. Eleanor, she started, her voice uncharacteristically hesitant. I need to apologize. For the text message and for so much more. I've been terrible to you. I remained silent, waiting. Apologies were easy. Actions and explanations mattered more. Madison seemed to understand my reticence. She took a deep breath and continued, I want to try to explain, not to excuse my behavior, but to help you understand where it came from. For the next 20 minutes, Madison spoke without interruption, revealing aspects of her life I'd never known. She described growing up in Singapore with parents who prioritized career success above all else, leaving her with a rotating staff of nannies and housekeepers. Birthdays and school events were often missed due to business trips. Affection was scarce, replaced by material possessions and prestigious opportunities. My parents love me in their way, Madison explained, but they've never been present. Our relationship exists primarily through holiday phone calls and occasional visits where they critique my life choices before flying off to their next business destination. She described watching Nathan and me interact during our early meetings with a mixture of fascination and jealousy. I'd never seen a mother-son relationship like yours. The inside jokes, the comfortable silences, the way you anticipated each other's needs. It was beautiful and terrifying. Terrifying. I echoed, breaking my silence. Madison nodded. I was afraid I could never compete with that bond. That Nathan would always put you first because your connection was so strong. So instead of learning from your relationship, I tried to weaken it. Nathan reached across the table, taking Madison's hand. We've talked a lot in the past 2 days, he explained to me. Really talked for the first time in years. Madison has been carrying fears I never fully understood. Madison wiped away a tear. When we got engaged, I panicked. I convinced myself that if Nathan remained close to you, there wouldn't be enough room for me in his heart. So I began creating distance, making up conflicts that didn't exist, twisting innocent comments into criticisms. She described systematically limiting our contact, scheduling competing events when Nathan planned to visit me, and even inventing negative comments I had supposedly made about her. The dinner party text was the culmination of 2 years of manipulation, Madison admitted. Nathan had mentioned inviting you, and I created a ridiculous argument about how you'd criticized my hosting abilities to Barbara. It wasn't true, but by then, lying about you had become almost automatic. I sat processing this information, feeling waves of anger and compassion alternately wash over me. Madison had caused immense pain, yet her own pain was evident as well. Her behavior was inexcusable but suddenly comprehensible. Why the financial arrangement? I asked. If you wanted distance, why accept my money? Madison flushed with shame. That was the worst part of all. I justified it by telling myself it was your choice, that you wanted to help. But the truth is, I liked what your money provided while resenting the connection it represented. It was selfish and hypocritical. Nathan spoke up then, his voice steady. I take responsibility too, Mom. I knew something was wrong. I saw how Madison's attitude toward you changed after we moved into the house. But confronting it meant potential conflict, and I chose the easier path of denial. The waitress returned with our drinks, the interruption providing a moment to collect my thoughts. After she left, I addressed them both. I appreciate your honesty today. Understanding helps, but it doesn't erase the hurt or automatically restore trust. We know, Nathan said solemnly. We're not asking for immediate forgiveness or for you to resume financial support. We're asking for a chance to rebuild our relationship the right way. Madison nodded. I've started therapy to address my insecurities and jealousy. Nathan and I are also beginning couples counseling to improve our communication. We'd like to suggest family therapy too, Nathan added. All 3 of us, learning how to create healthy boundaries while maintaining connection. I considered their proposal carefully. I'm willing to try therapy, I agreed. But I need certain commitments from both of you first. I outlined my requirements. Regular, scheduled family dinners without last-minute cancellations, direct communication rather than messages filtered through either spouse, respect for my time and contributions, and complete honesty moving forward. And regarding the financial situation, I continued, I'm willing to help in true emergencies, but the regular payments won't resume. You both need to develop financial independence and responsibility. Madison nodded. That's more than fair. We've already contacted our bank about refinancing options, and I'm looking at taking on additional real estate listings to increase my commission income. Nathan added, "We're also considering downsizing if necessary. The house is lovely, but not worth the damage it's caused to our family." As our conversation continued, tentative plans formed. Weekly family dinners would begin the following Sunday. Our first therapy session was scheduled for the next month. Madison would write a formal apology letter detailing her actions and commitments to change. Nathan would establish clear boundaries with Madison regarding his relationship with me. When the check arrived, Madison reached for it immediately. "Please let me. It's a very small start, but I want to treat you today." It was a symbolic gesture, yet it represented a shift in our dynamic. As we prepared to leave, Madison hesitantly asked if she could hug me. The embrace was awkward but genuine. "I want to be better," she whispered. "For Nathan, for you, and for myself." Walking to our separate cars afterward, I felt cautiously optimistic. The road ahead would be challenging, with likely setbacks and continued healing needed. But for the first time in years, I felt seen and heard by my son and his wife. It wasn't resolution, but it was a beginning. 6 months have passed since that pivotal meeting at the Bluebird Cafe. The journey hasn't been without difficulties, but meaningful change has gradually taken root in our family dynamics. The weekly Sunday dinners we established have become a cornerstone of our healing process. Initially awkward and tentative, these gatherings have evolved into genuine opportunities for connection. Madison has surprised me the most. Her commitment to therapy revealed deeply rooted insecurities stemming from her childhood. As she's worked through these issues, I've witnessed a remarkable transformation. The defensive, controlling woman who viewed me as competition has been replaced by someone capable of vulnerability and genuine warmth. During our third family dinner, she asked about Nathan's childhood, genuinely wanting to hear stories rather than diverting attention from his past. "Tell me about little Nathan," she requested, her interest sincere. "What was he like at 5? What made him laugh?" As I shared memories, Madison listened attentively, occasionally glancing at Nathan with newfound appreciation. "I wish I could have known you then," she told him, reaching for his hand. Nathan, too, has grown tremendously. He's rediscovered his voice in his marriage and established healthier boundaries with both Madison and me. He calls regularly now, sometimes just to check in or share a story from work. These conversations belong to us alone, not monitored or interrupted by Madison. "I let myself become someone I didn't recognize," he confessed during one of our private lunches. "It happened so gradually I didn't notice until I was completely lost. Never again, Mom. Never again." Our family therapy sessions with Dr. Keller have been challenging but transformative. During our second session, Madison broke down completely when discussing the text message incident. "I was trying to protect my fragile sense of belonging by pushing away the person who most threatened it," she admitted through tears. "But all I did was reveal my own insecurity and cruelty." Dr. Keller has helped us establish clear communication patterns and appropriate boundaries. We've learned to express needs directly rather than through passive-aggressive behaviors or martyrdom. I've had to acknowledge my own role in creating unhealthy dynamics, sometimes sacrificing too much and creating unspoken expectations. Generosity without boundaries isn't actually generosity, Dr. Keller observed during one session. It's a form of control or self-martyrdom that ultimately harms relationships. This insight struck me profoundly. Had my financial sacrifice been partially motivated by a desire to remain essential in Nathan's life? The question was uncomfortable but necessary to consider. Regarding finances, Nathan and Madison have taken full responsibility for their mortgage and household expenses. They refinanced their loan and Madison has indeed taken on additional real estate listings, significantly increasing her income. Nathan received a promotion at his architectural firm, easing some of their financial pressure. They've also simplified their lifestyle, selling the luxury car Madison insisted on during their early marriage and canceling memberships to exclusive clubs they rarely used. These changes have allowed them to manage their finances independently, though they've occasionally asked for advice rather than money, a healthier dynamic for all of us. For my part, I've discovered unexpected benefits from withdrawing my financial support. The funds previously directed to their mortgage now support my own needs and interests. I've enrolled in art classes at the community center, something I'd always wanted to explore but never prioritized. My small apartment has been transformed with new furniture and personal touches, becoming a true home rather than just a downsized compromise. Perhaps most importantly, I've developed friendships independent of my identity as Nathan's mother. My Tuesday painting group includes 5 women my age, all with their own complicated family stories and wisdom to share. We meet for coffee after class, our conversations ranging from grandchildren to retirement planning to second-act career dreams. "You seem different, Eleanor," my friend Judith remarked recently. "More present somehow, like you're finally living your life, rather than just supporting someone else's." Her observation resonated deeply. For decades, motherhood had been my primary identity, overshadowing other aspects of my personhood. While I never regretted the sacrifices made for Nathan, I now recognize the importance of maintaining my own separate identity and interests. The most significant development came last month when Madison discovered she was pregnant. They shared the news during our Sunday dinner, both glowing with excitement and some trepidation. "We wanted you to be the first to know," Nathan said, his arm around Madison's shoulders. "You're going to be a grandmother." Madison reached for my hand across the table. "We hope you'll be an important part of this baby's life. They should know the incredible woman who raised their father." The moment was healing in ways I couldn't have imagined 6 months earlier. Madison's sincere desire for my involvement represented the final barrier breaking down between us. Later that evening, as we discussed nursery ideas, Madison asked if I would help design the space. "You have wonderful taste, Eleanor," she said, without a trace of the dismissiveness that once characterized her compliments. "And more importantly, you understand what babies actually need versus what the expensive boutiques try to sell you." As I reflect on this journey from rejection to reconciliation, I'm struck by how near I came to losing my relationship with Nathan permanently. Had I responded to hurt with more hurt, escalating the conflict rather than establishing boundaries, the outcome might have been tragically different. The most profound lesson I've learned is that motherhood requires both extraordinary sacrifice and appropriate boundaries. Love without limits can become enabling. Giving without expectations can become self-erasure. True family bonds must be built on mutual respect and reciprocity, not just blood ties or financial support. I now understand that my worth was never tied to what I could provide financially or practically. My value as a mother, as a mother-in-law, and as a person exists independently of my usefulness to others. This knowledge has transformed not just my relationship with Nathan and Madison, but my relationship with myself. As I prepare for my new role as grandmother, I'm grateful for the painful awakening that text message provided. Without that moment of clarity, we might have continued in our dysfunctional patterns indefinitely, with resentment growing on all sides. Instead, we've created a healthier family system where all members can thrive. If you're facing similar family challenges, remember that setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's essential for authentic relationships. Sometimes love means saying no. Sometimes healing requires temporary distance. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to stop enabling behaviors that harm both of you. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members? How did you maintain your love while protecting your dignity? Share your experiences in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about family dynamics, healing, and personal growth. Remember, it's never too late to reclaim your worth and rebuild relationships on healthier foundations. Thank you for listening to my story, and I wish you courage on your own journey toward authentic family connections.